say, calculating with the blood of areas I have, so that for the next event, I have enough so that I can, over time, gradually get my Archer General Marcus Agrippa on the K39 ascended. And in the meantime, obviously, I've put a Boudica on the wall. But generally, I think if you run a trap that is fully flat refined, it's kind of irrelevant who you put there. It's nice to have a general there, but always keep in mind that obviously those percentages the general gives don't buff your T1s, T2s a lot. So basically, if you look what flat refines do to those T1s, T2s, they dwarf any 20, 30, 40% buff you get. Obviously, they're still nice to have, but I wouldn't spend, if you don't have the money, on basically speccing any war general. But, and that's why I said with Subutai that you then can use kind of if you're a bit advanced, and an assistant general on the wall that has the third specialties maxed, that you can put a flex spec on it, because on the flex spec, even if you just maximize it without putting further runestones in, you get 500, another 500 flat for attack, which is then obviously incrementally super supportive. And this is something I implement on my keeps.
I mean, and another thing as well for free-to-play players, obviously since we've got the Alliance boss, and obviously you can get the Freedom or the Choreo parts, obviously everyone knows we've got the Wheel of Civilization, where we can obviously get the Supremacy and the Conquest pieces. On myself, never in a million years am I calling for a Supremacy piece. So rather than doubling up on what I'm going to potentially get from the Alliance boss, I'm saving all of my Supremacy pieces. Even once I reach 30, I won't get a piece of Choreo until, I've opened that chest from the Alliance boss. Because the last thing that you want, obviously, when you're aiming for that 6 out of 6 set, is, you think, oh, let me go and build the Choreo bow. And the next thing you know, you doubled up on it from the Alliance boss. Patience is definitely a virtue when you're playing a free-to-play keep. If you're impatient, I think the free-to-play route is definitely not something you should be thinking about.
Yeah, I think it needs to be said that you don't necessarily need that gear. You could use Achaemenid gear or Ares gear and be just fine for PvP or defense. So just keep that in mind. You don't have to have those high-end supremacy pieces. You could have a very good attacking general or defensive general without them. So you just have to make sure you're refining them, making sure you're picking the right gear for the right general, that stuff. So
can you guys hear me?
That gear is nice to have, but it's not necessary if you're free to play.
Yeah, Mickey, we can hear you.
Okay, cool. Hey guys, Mickey. So another point, I think Prez and Bear for their points as far as like needing Civ gear versus not needing Civ gear to actually have a good defense. So I myself have a double wall gen setup, and one is what was geared specifically to siege. And what I found was if I have like these T1s as our low coiners are geared to have, as it's inexpensive to do, it's more effective than just going for a siege defense itself as far as like protecting my keep. So when it comes to what we do as an alliance, we don't force our low coiners to try to have to keep up. We keep the experience for them fun with their capabilities So they'll ask us plenty of times, especially when it comes to, say, SVS or things, right? We talk about the dragons and what they can do for your keep and how we give them thieves. There's been times where we'll sit out for an SVS and let them, have fun to go for more thieves wings helps with their defense. Apart from, the same people always taking the top few slots. And as far as, like, say, subsidies, a lot of them were asking, oh, how can we get, these rushes, or how can we compete with people who coin heavily? And a way we've combated that as well is we'll roll subsidies downhill based on like PvP needs. So most of our top keeps are basically full kitted with golds, and so if we get like a really good gold or a really good purple when someone needs it, we'll roll it down to help out our smaller players as well, so that they can still continue to have fun and build up on their keeps. Because yes, it's fun for them to be able to, take a hit and not, be a one tap all the time, but they're also missing the offensive side of it. So we give them chances in BOCs and BOGs as well to participate in things other than just taking buildings, and to be able to test their defenses. Does anybody else have any other points for things we did for small coins as far as like their traps go?
Yeah, so we just work with everybody individually, and we have several people working with people individually, and they just ask us questions, and they ask us, okay, what kind of layers do you have? Are you getting such and such debuffs? What generals should I use? All this stuff. Like, you can run a top-down approach and really help the people who are growing in order to be able to develop in a way to where they feel like they're moving forward, and they can participate in POC or BOG or SVS and all that stuff. So it starts with the top players, and you can help the players who are growing to develop what choices to make and all that stuff. And that really speaks to the server unity thing. Keep hammering down.
Yes.
The,
Because if it was just the top keeps in our alliance, we'd be throwing like maybe half to 3/4 of our rally size without our smaller players being able to be in, or able to know how to ghost their attack marches or what have you. It's not like we just throw them in without anything and throw them to the winds, because it can give away points if we don't want anybody to not be able to, have fun overall. So that's why we love our server being non-hostile. There's never been like a civil war or a power struggle when it comes to, oh, the free-to-play players are just forgotten about when it came to everyone's development, because we don't know everyone's living situations or what they choose to put into the game. But one thing that everybody does put in equally is the time.
Yeah, I was going to give advice. If you're a free-to-play player, I'd say the best way for you to get your Civ gear, to get your All-Star Dragons, to get your all your premium stuff, the castles and stuff like that. Just wait until the big spenders get burnt out, and you just take over their castle. That actually does happen a lot. So you have these castles that people spent, these keeps that people spent like $50,000 on, $100,000 on, and eventually people do get burnt out, and they'll want somebody to drive eventually. So you could possibly obtain one that way if you're a skilled enough free to play player. So that is something that a lot of alliances are always looking to recruit players to take over keeps that are no longer being used. So that might be your path to getting a very premium keep as a free to play player.
Yeah, it's like what we did. I mean, Bear, how did you come into our alliance, and how much did it cost you to get into the keep you have now? And same for we have kind of a natural progression. People
Yeah.
leave. We had 2-3 keeps on our server. They were kind of the most coined, and we had kind of free to play players that were skilled. They got a new home there, and they improved them a lot. And Bear is one of these, and he made huge progress and improved the account by miles. And we're so happy to have him.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I started. Was it February? I think Bao recruited me. I played one BOG with these guys, and then I got a K38. There was a 39 promotion available. Obviously, didn't go through. Max knew how keen I was to grow within the alliance. Like he said before, we share the resources that we get from monsters. It gave me enough to do a full swing from K38 to 39, and then I think it's for my birthday basically. I got a promotion to a K41 keep, and it cost me absolutely nothing.
Also, as
Yeah,
far as free to play buffs go, what do you guys think about that?
I mean,
Or
you've
the flat
definitely got to pick and choose where you want to get stuff, because obviously, like, everyone knows as a free to play, especially on defense wise, your biggest, like, spirit beast wise, obviously everyone knows Chimera is your biggest one. But obviously when you start hitting, level 50, you're going to take a lot of crystals just to get one level. So you've got to sort of sit there and do the maths whether you're going to get more progression, more buffs out of, one level into your Chimera, or if you're going to get more buffs doing, 4 or 5 levels on another spirit beast. You've got to take a little bit of extra time when you're free to play, or especially a low coiner. I mean, I'll spend 2 triple downs on the shopping spree, and then maybe 199 pack every so often, and that keeps me afloat. I mean, defense wise, doing free to play, low coining, I've gone up about 250% on defense buffs, and then same again about 200% on attack. But it does come down to luck on a lot of it, especially when it comes to blazons and then patience.
And as far as the Senate goes itself, for free to play players, I know it's very hard as Blood of Ares. It's easier to obtain now than what it was when it first came out. However, it's still a grind if you're working on your PvP general. So as Bear said, you got to pick and choose like what's the best outcome for you and what's worth it to focus on. I would say don't burn yourself out with trying to do 10 things at once. Focus on one thing, then go to the next task. Otherwise, you're going to feel like you're in a never-ending spiral of what, Ebony wants you to do is just, start spending or start to try to keep up rather than enjoying your keep and enjoying what you've made and making it your own. So at the least for your Senate, as a free-to-play player, I would say get as many of the generals in positions filled as you can to 5 stars. And then once your PvP generals are set up, then you can start, moving into the ascensions. If you don't have anything to worry about as far as your sub generals goes, because as a free to play player, your debuffs are going to be very important. Because I'm pretty sure most players in here, if you are free to play, that you're going to experience a lot of ranged rallies coming your way to try to take out your calves. So you want your calves to be as strong as possible, or your debuffs to be as strong as possible.
Yeah, and always think twice if you want to play SVS when you're free to play or a low coiner. Don't use SVS to test your defense. Don't fuck around in SVS. Don't go to the enemy server looting dead keeps, looking for 5 to 10 million RSS. There are with the Telegram bot and iScout, they will catch you within a second, and it's so not worth it for the couple of million RSS you might have gotten. So for all the hard blood and energy that went into your keep. Kind of take the weekend off if you're free to play in SVS, unless you have inherited a keep that has tons of source of life. Then you can engage more actively, but otherwise, always think twice. Enjoy a movie, help others, scouting, but it's not worth it risking your keep for some SVS rewards.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Max,
you
do you
have to
have
approach that
any?
smart.
Sorry, Chris. Max, do you have any knowledge as far as your keep goes? Say your K39s, as far as research in the academy or the military academy, or what you focus on with those lower VIP accounts?
Well, I mean, they are quite seasoned by now. So I mean, I want to pass them on because I have so much to do professionally. But at this point, those K39s have kind of fully maxed MA4. They have 500-600 million T1 calves. They have 3 billion in power. They have awakened Elises. They have a fully set up Archer March. So they're nice to play. They are loaded on speed ups, on refining stones. So I think each of them has 150,000 days in general speed ups, 1 million refining stones. I don't know, plenty of gold and enough tactic scrolls for MA6. I wouldn't do as a free to play if you get to this verge because getting to K39 is kind of easy. Then it's a huge step up to K40. It's kind of overwhelming. I would just pass through K40, do the rally spot, but don't really use your gold and tactic scrolls in MA5. Maybe just for the march size increase buffs that you can get in the siege tree, but then go directly to MA6 because basically you can do MA6, 7, and 8 for the tactic scrolls cost of MA5. If you come to a team, and I mean, we are very supportive here that help you on the RSS, and you get accounts that have plenty of speed ups. You can quickly grow from a K39 to a K41. And then obviously with that you have higher embassy levels, and it's much more fun in battlefield and yeah, as said, I focused on those keeps first, obviously on what I could do on the mounted defenses, less on the big buttons initially because let's say they help on debuffing when attacking, but obviously as I was building the defense part of them first and I didn't have proper marches, I wanted to have the ground and mountain defense first, and over time obviously I did all the research except for the monster hunting stuff in the military academy, because as if you're just joining monster rallies, you can spare your tactics throws there. In the military academy, that's not really needed. And yeah.
Yeah. Another thing that Bear said that was important earlier is to be patient. So a very important thing to remember as a free-to-play player is don't rush. Wait for the events to come up where you can, consume certain things to get some return of your investment of these materials. Because I heard Max earlier, he was saying, we pull about 40K a day when it comes to emirs and pans. Max, do you have like a rough estimate of how many scrolls that could be per event or per day as far as like free-to-play players can go?
I know that from just the chest count, I count them, and as I said, obviously my traps have just set up with Spartacus or Sonata or Baybars and Nathaniel as assistant, and usually you should get 800 to 1,000 chests. So from Pan, EMIF 4 to 6. And if you average that, it's around about 4 to 5,000 scrolls per week. So times 4, that's 20,000 scrolls. But then you got other events too. You got the Agalopes. You got then. Yeah, wherever you can redeem tactics scrolls. It's the refining event, it's tactics research, it's crafting event, dragon feeding, you name it. So overall, I think you can easily get 25,000 tactics scrolls per month free to play in a team like ours. Yeah.
Yeah, you just have to be resourceful, and you have to know what events can yield you what returns. So you have to pay attention to that kind of stuff if you're not spending money. I mean, if you're spending money, you just get the buffs right away. But the events are your best friend when it comes to free to play or coiners. One thing I think we could talk about is for like a T1 mounted trap, how we developed those and kind of layers and stuff like that.
Yeah, just to answer Jake's question, we was speaking obviously about Rally joining gens for free to play people earlier, and like Derek was saying as well, the March Speed book and not just the March Speed 2 monsters, because obviously you're only going to get that buff one way and not both ways. Obviously, don't forget you got your Civ treasures. I think it's a common forgotten thing to obviously always change it, during BOC echelons, obviously change it to the healing outside, change it to the March speed to monsters. There's loads of other things to get the March speed.
Yeah. So, Max, do you want to go over how you develop your T1 traps? What kind of layers you use and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of described it earlier how I started with it. I mean, when I got them wings, I had kind of, but this was not in K45 era, it was in K40 era, so buffs were a bit different. But I started with the Sharja on the wall, or Vladimir the Great, and made it look like a really, because they would scout and just see Sharja or Vladimir and think, okay, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. But obviously, I had Fafnir as a wall dragon with flat refines, and then just as usual, Archem gear with fully mounted flats and on bottom layers, I think it was 50 million T1 calves, and then 30, 20, 10 to 2, 3, 4. Just that it stays kind of a humble, not even 1 billion keep, and had then just layers in between up around 50,000, not a lot, and I had one Archer March as well, and my assistant was Subutai or Minamoto, and this worked pretty neat. Obviously now those T1 amounts would not be enough in times of 4K plus buffs. 100 million T1s get wiped. So you obviously shouldn't do, or you can't do this anymore unless you're really lucky and it's a young server. And you face, then it's possible. But if you're matched with an older server, definitely don't risk it. And then over time it developed, and obviously with the Boudica on the wall, Thebes, all geared towards mounted flat refines, flex specs on them from the battle tested ones. The T1s are now well above 500 million, fully developed ground march. Archer March, I still go easy on Siege, because Siege is, if you don't have the wall buffs, obviously that's the thing you can always do when you attack a trap. just hit it with small siege, and you're gonna take out the defending siege plus potentially some archers, and you will go positive on it. So that's why I would recommend, if you build a calf trap, go easy on the siege, just to have it for the layers. But generally, then above T12, you shouldn't have a meaningful amount of troops other than your archer march if you start with it. And then obviously, if you grow bigger, and nobody should hit you solo anymore, then obviously you will get rallied, and then you should never take a sit for a rally unless you get rained by your teammates. And this is the thing, obviously, where we had some painful experiences of our players due to glitches and lag. Obviously, then you can't evade a rally, and if you're not rained, even a 3 or 4 billion calf trap gets nowadays very easily soloed by, or not soloed, cleared by, let's say, 2-person rally. So
sometimes it's not even that. I mean, like me and Mickey do. Sometimes we, in BOC, if there's a small player that's constantly jumping, we'll 2-team him. I'll send a small siege, Mickey will send a ranged, and that does tend to clear a small trap out. But like Cammy was saying, for free to play, especially the lucky jackpot now, you can get the sub city, you can get Baldwins, and I mean, people probably correct me if I'm wrong in chat. But if you don't actually accept the coins from the mail, if you save them up enough, you can get the keep, if I'm correct. So there is plenty of ways to get the.
Yeah, you can get a big
Right.
keep. Yeah. I'm saving on my accounts for a long time already.
There
But
was
I
a
don't know if it's
question.
enough.
There was a question regarding this, which has been answered. It was by Bookworm. He asked, "What subgens do you need to get for FTP aside from Andrew Jackson?" So we've just answered that. That in Jackpot, there are generals, premium generals that you can build up and save for later.
Yeah, or Nero is always a good free option as well. It's a good general rule of thumb, tavern general.
Yes. Mhm. Also, another thing that we did was we had in our Discord, because a lot of our communication is filtered through Discord as our alliances, just so people don't miss out, say, trying to communicate through just the alliance chat in game, because we do have a very spread out alliance. We have leaders in all different time zones, from Asia to the West Coast to Europeans, East Coast Americans as well, or Middle Eastern. So for everyone to keep kind of a general track and have all these different mindsets or ideas, tips and tricks, we keep it all in Discords. We have different threads. And one of the important threads that we use for our free-to-play players was our T1 trap guide. And it basically gave everyone at least a baseline of where to start when it came to building their T1 wall and the things that they needed. And once they thought they were ready, basically we would do a voice chat. They would share their screen and show what they had as far as like their generals, their refines, or their troop count. And when time came in SVS, when they felt like they were ready, because I know it can be kind of scary as a free to play player to join SVS, and you can only get zeroed maybe 2 times with the source of life that you have, to make sure that that one time that you go for it is the actual proper time. It's always good to at least have someone to be able to back you and reinforce you just in case, and to know when to bubble. Some people think, oh, I can take this person, but then they don't know that secretly someone else has ported over, and there's a rally up, and anything can happen, red Wi-Fi or whatever. So to protect our low coiners, so they don't kind of take their stuff out of the game, trying to think they're ready to take that next step. that was a thing we did to help support them and show that we cared about their growth, because it's all about the team. Like, every individual person adds up, but once it's time to actually fight, you're showing them that, okay, you're not alone. We want you to be, everything that your keep can be. That's at least how we started.
Just to answer Painful Winter's question, because he's got a few. I mean, he's asking what troop tiers should they invest in? Should they build enough to take out, obviously, Royal Thieves? I mean, it's free to play. It's always, I wouldn't say subject, but it's you build your trap. You either become a ghost keep, so you just have one march of each that you can, ghost rally, or you build your trap. If you build your trap, obviously you just have higher layers of calves and then substantial layers of everything else, and then some ranged and ground. Because realistically, you're just going to be a point pinata if you have, millions and millions of T13, T14, cav and siege. Defense is easy enough to be built as free to play. Like I said, Painful, there's loads of ways to get your buffs. As like Cres likes to point out, this is a game of adding 3% here, 4% there to get your 3,000-4,000% buffs. I'm assuming you're a newer player in regards to obviously the asking about the Celtic Dragon. Celtic is definitely worth it. He's going to be your first dragon in the game. I personally would not spend your gems in the auction house. There's a lot better things that you're going to need it for. Refines, stamina. Stamina is going to be your main big one. Gems, obviously, like Max says, free-to-play players can get a lot of them, especially from the high levels of champions. Helen being your first one. I know when it gets to like level 18 or so, it starts to become a couple 100,000 gems a level. What events you should focus on? You should focus on anything and everything where you can gain something from it. Anything, even speed ups. The smallest event, if you can gain from it, do it.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
And then,
I have to go, but I don't know if there's any questions mechanics wise that you guys wanted me to answer.
I don't think so. I haven't seen anything. Mostly the questions I've seen are for development.
All right.
All right, see you, Derek.
See you guys later. Bye.
There's one good one here. So Vernon asked, what are the next steps for moving beyond the trap keep as you grow? So I would say first step you're going to take is you start developing your PvP marches if you haven't already, and depending on if you're spending or not, you could work on all of them at once or just one at a time. And I'm sure everybody has their own philosophy on which marches you should do first and whatnot. But for me, I would say develop your ranged march first. That's going to help your team if you're playing POC, and then siege, and then ground and calves last. So, but yeah, the next step is you start developing your PvP marches, and if you get your debuffs and buffs to the point to where you can start adding those top tier layers, then you can do that as well. But in today's evony, you really need to have pretty good buffs in order to take rallies, especially if you're getting into All Stars. Even All Stars Elite is pretty competitive these days. So just keep that in mind. And the more range you can get, the better. If you get to the point where you're starting to take rallies, so work on that embassy. Yeah, make sure you could take as many ranges as possible, because if you start getting hit with 40, 50 mil rallies, those will hurt while you're developing.
Yeah, I mean, I think our approach as well is obviously because our team, we primarily already have our big rally team, and then we have a few, 2 or 3 lower keeps that we assign roles to. Obviously make sure they keep the portals and such. But I think we've got 4 accounts that we've got to fill, right?
It's three or four.
There's however many Max has got. I mean, Caesar, obviously the reigns that we send, we always voice what we're sending. So, say if we're in Shalons, I'm saying rally ranged on bear, more than likely we're going to send ground, but at the same time, someone is going to send range just in case they throw out that double rally of cavs to clear out the ground first. We don't obviously just, if saying ranged on bear, we're not just going to send everything as ground.
Yeah. Another thing, rolling into something else as far as like our server consolidation and our team growth, it has been a lot more refreshing than what we at first pictured. From the very beginning, we had like say top 10 alliances on the server. We've have done really good as far as NAP goes, not knocking out those smaller players because they're in it for the long run and stunning their growth and hurting our server overall, making bad attitudes, people soloing monsters, getting in the way of things like that. But everyone checks their ego at the door, and we all go into fights knowing that we are one team, one server, and basically no one's going to try to sabotage anything that helps our server. That's why we don't run into anything as far as like resource sellers or people who solo monsters just to try to like get in the way of one alliance's growth, anything like that. And it's helped with shortening our top 10 down to like say a top 5. And because of the time slots, it's like that. If we could have everyone in one alliance, we would. However, it just doesn't work out that way. But those smaller alliances, since we are the largest alliance on our server, they've never had a complaint where they've had to be like, "Oh, you guys are doing this," or somebody's speeding to this, which I know a lot of servers do have that problem of. Chris, do you have anything as far as our server consolidation and what your thoughts on it are?
Yeah. So for me, the least amount of alliances you have, the better, right? Because you're sharing a certain amount of monsters on the map, and you don't get more monsters. So the more people that are benefiting from each one of those monsters, the better, right? So obviously you get capped out at 150 players, but so if you could have the least amount of alliances possible, and I would say do whatever you can to make that happen, because that's not only going to help your alliance, that's also going to help the server as a whole. It helps everybody grow, and it's significant to a point that I think can't be overstated. So yeah, it's I know people have issues with different personalities, and maybe you just have a really angry player on your server, but if you can, if at all possible, you really should filter everybody possible into one alliance or 2 alliances, or whatever works for your server.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
And
giving people a chance to participate in Battlefield as well, because even though you can have 150 slots, only 20 to 25 people, depending if you're in challenge or not, can be out there at a time. So to let those players who are still developing, maybe take a little time away from, the big alliance or to participate in certain battlefields to their, at that point where they're ready, and bringing them in so that they can still, have fun. But Anya, were you about to say something?
yeah, for the battlefields, we assign roles to everyone, especially the low pointers and F2ps and their traps. They're on portal duties or to read the alliance war screen, to call out for uh, rallies, to call out for range to the players being rallied, and to do the scout and reading scout reports or the portals, like for example, grounded south portal, things like that. We try to incorporate everybody in our alliance so that they all get a chance to be a part of battlefields and get the rewards out of them too. The rewards which come from BOG, BOC, Shalons can also help those F2Ps, because everything, as I said earlier, counts towards little by little towards their development. So that is important as a team to incorporate them as well too.
Yeah. Just to quickly sound Pete's question, because he joined late. I mean, if you got $10 to $20 a week to spend, personally, if it was down to me, like Derek said earlier, older servers, you always have a more established team. Someone's always recruiting somewhere. You know, we're recruiting. We've got keeps that we're currently giving out for free. You're gonna gain a lot more back from your investment by buying into an older keep, or obviously being recruited. $10 to $20 a week. If you do want to stay on your server, I would do the shopping spree. Especially if you do have a 24/7 rally setter. That's where your bread and butter is, really, because you're gonna get obviously more stamina, more bosses, and that's gonna be your resources and your speed ups.
Yeah.
just want
Yeah, I was going to say, so we could probably share some of our PvP reports to really show the efficacy of having a united server.
Yeah. Chris,
Yeah.
I'm pulling it right now. Give me 2 seconds. It's loading up. All right.
So we've generally been relatively lucky with our server. You know, we don't have any mega claims. We have maybe a handful of low to medium coiners, but you know, these reports that we have, it's not just the coiners that are participating. You know, we have a lot of free to play players who make these 8, 9, 10 bill clears happen. You know, so it really makes a difference when you pull everyone together, and you could be competitive without spending a lot of money. You may not beat Viper, but you can be competitive.
The
You know,
ones I'm on now was this was us. What was it? Saturday. We had faced an alliance with 3K44s, of course, and you know, I myself hold like 60 million reigns, but at least we got like 40 million in. I took like 4 of these rallies back to back, and they were like more or less 60 million rallies. And the support of your team and the communication is very important. So I myself, in my role, I'm always watching the rally screen. I always try to watch for targets, call out things for max, and we always make sure our team is ready to go. Because if some certain people have things out, or we're multitasking and things get like a wrench thrown in them, and one person's talking over another, it can throw your whole game plan off. So going in with the sound game plan to, you know, have fun, be quick, and just communicate, you know, thoroughly, and concise will take your team very far. You know, if we see there's a lot going on, or we're setting, you know, 2 or 3 rallies at a time, and someone's getting set on in the meantime, pulling everyone's focus to rein that person might not be ideal, versus them pulling their march back and getting out of the way and getting back in as best they can. Or teaching our smaller players, hey, if you get a rally set on you, don't jump back into that spot, or nobody else should take that spot, because we've seen it plenty of times in our favor that, you know, players will go back into the spot that they just left from, or someone else trying to fit back into, you know, the stuff, and we'll just have multiple marches to set on them. And it's pretty much easy clear with no rains. So the development from your leaders down all the way down to your bottom line of players who, are still getting into the swing of things and developing is very important. Or like say a player gets zeroed in full heals and they were a 5 bill trap and they don't want to be out of the fight in the first 10 or 15 minutes. That enemy team is going to be hunting them again because they already know that they can clear the keep out.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, like I said before, it really just employing a top-down method where you take all your knowledge and move that downward to smaller players. It's really useful, and if you have a united server, you can be competitive. I think
Right,
we've,
right.
yeah,
And
I think
everyone
we,
needs to remember that this is a game. We play it for enjoying, for the purpose of, having a good time. It doesn't make sense if you're fighting within the alliance. I mean, within the server. Enjoy it, make good connections, play your game, and have fun with it. And also, we will be taking questions. If you have any, please write it down so our team can respond to them.
All right. Also, for free to play players, last thing, if you are developing buildings, make sure that, ask your leaders if someone has like any gold European subs to help with your, construction time, because nobody wants to, waste the things that they've, built up over time on one building or two buildings. So always make sure that you're optimizing the game to give you the best experience. And, if your team happens to lose a battlefield, learn what shortcomings there was or what tricks the other team used. Always learn, because us as a team, I think we lose maybe like once on a year, since we've been, as an alliance, and then basically never when we have our full teams in. Everyone has their different schedules and such, but knowing your keeps, knowing everyone's strengths and weaknesses, as far as what are they weak to, what are their stronger points, and what can be developed, helping them learn, sitting down one on one, seeing something that someone might have done to their keep that you think could be good for yours, or something that might be hindering them from taking their keep to the next level, and giving them some insight.
Yeah. I mean, just to touch up on what Silk said, I mean, healing layers is definitely important when you're a trap. I mean, I know a lot of us players, Viper probably not himself, but obviously when you're being hit, most of us do have a preset so we can just quickly tap it and then we've healed, 40, 50k layers. It's definitely important to do it in between.
Yeah. 50k layers from T14 down to T1 is about 100 days more or less of speed ups, depending on your proper Civ treasures and your Monarch gear. If you set it to healing, it's probably a little bit less. It's probably about 80 days, which is better than healing like a full March for someone who crashed on your wall, which is probably about 400 or so days or more.
Yeah. And just to answer Winter's question, when you're going up against monsters, you don't use layers, just cavs. The highest cavs you can have. And obviously don't mix the tiers.
yeah, or better yet,
layers,
yeah, go ahead.
Obviously if you're using layers when you're hitting monsters, obviously you are going to receive wounded. Obviously when you get to the higher stages, like Max does, I mean, Max sends like 7 million T15 Graham to a boss. You can start doing stuff like that, but also when you're lower into a server and newer into the game, like yourself, I'm assuming, T11, T12, T13 calves that's going to be your friend for monsters. But as free to play, if you do have a coiner in your alliance, it's going to be your rally setter for bosses. Don't focus on calves, just focus on building your trap or your ghost marches.
Yeah, that's
And
what
if
I was
your
going
march
to say.
is
Is
slow, it's good to send without a general with just one troop. That way you don't have to wait for the march to march back. Most of the time it'll die out. You don't have to wait to join the next rally as a free-to-play player. Just one troop, no general. Or if you want to go for your double drops, you can get those specific tavern generals to help out with that as well. And then there's some King's gear specifically to help out with your march speed. But Chris, you got the floor.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say what Bear said at the end. Really, don't solo monsters. The best thing you could do for yourself is to join the biggest alliance. Whoever's the most efficient at killing monsters, let them do the monsters, and then you join those rallies. That's gonna get you what you need. You can get just on your main account if they're doing monsters, 24/7. You can get a billion of each resource every day, at least, depending on how many monsters they're killing and what monsters they're killing. So realistically, that should be your focus, especially if you're free to play.
Yeah, and I mean, like someone said, the Europes, they are very vital. I mean, I hold the Europes for the Alliance. So I mean, Mickey uses them quite often. I'm always available. I work from home. In our Alliance, all you got to do ping me on Discord, and no matter what, you've got, what is it, 8 gold Europes? Well, 10 gold Europes, and you can cut your building down from like 19,000 days to like 13,000. Always make, if you have that available within the Alliance, make sure to use it. It might take an extra 20-30 minutes to organize it, but 20-30 minutes to save thousands of days is 100% worth it.
Does
So
anybody have any more questions?
yeah, does anybody have any more questions?
Winter
So
has one. It
far,
says, what tier is considered as good archers?
I mean, tier for archers, it all depends on how big you are. I think tier 12 is going to be your biggest friend as a lower keep, obviously, until you unlock 14s and higher.
Yeah, T12s, they're very good. Their stats are not far off of T13 archers, and they're much cheaper to heal. They're very good for defensive layers as well. So T12 archers are probably going to be your best bet, Winter.
yeah, even as you grow, my march is about 5.5 million, and I send like 3 million T12 archers. So T12 archers are your friend. It makes it cheaper. They do a lot of killing. So if I was to say, just give you one tier of archers that's most important, T12 is definitely the one.
Also, if you guys need any building guides or any material to share back with your alliances, it will be shared in C5 library. It will be there. Or if you have any more questions which you think of later, you can always tag us and ask it, and we'll be happy to answer them. And thank you so much, everyone. It's been a delightful experience. I have a question. Ram, okay. So Ram has a question. How do I stop rich people like Viper claiming to be poor in FTP? Ram, Delulu is the new Salulu. So no cure for that.
At all. All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks you guys for listening and let us, talk to you about our experiences as an alliance and as a server growing together and what we do as far as like helping our smaller free to play players make the best of their experience with the game.
Yeah, and
Thank you
Yeah.
so
like we
much,
said,
David.
like we said,
Yeah.
Josh, we do have three or four keeps available. Like Max said, most of them already do have a lot of the tier 1 trap made, and a lot of them do have some marches available as well. And I think a few of them have 1 to 2 as well, which is obviously a nice push start.
Yeah, and if you have any further questions about how we do things, you can reach out to us privately as well. I'm an open door, so message me privately if you're curious about ground traps or how we do things or cap traps or whatever. More than happy to chat with people.
Sorry, I was plugging in my mouse YouTube at the bottom. I will be posting this talk on my YouTube later, just for anybody that needs like a recap or something that they can also share with their alliances.
Yeah. And one last thing as well. Free low coiners, please take advantage of Aptoid and Amazon. Anywhere you can get that small discount, do it. It might not seem much where you get 18% back on a $10 purchase, but do it. It soon adds up over the year. Well, like Rez said, 39% on Amazon.
Oh, and Viper, I've got nudes coming your way if you're giving us cakes for nudes. Just a heads up.
Oh, what? Cakes for news? I mean,
Yeah, Viper's inbox is going to be flooded now.
all right, guys. Everyone take care.
Yep. See you guys.